We are just here with the coverage. We are a conscientious objector to the unjust murder by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. But that doesn't mean that our views converge with everything they say here at the rally. We're just giving you live coverage.
He's right here at home. That means anywhere around the world, Trump is doing everything he can to make the people unsafe, to kill people, and to violate every law known to man. We've had ICE and the National Guard, the Marines all over our cities. It started in Los Angeles and we started spread around the world. But what did we see? We saw the fight back spread as well. We were right here back last June protesting against this violent ICE terror. Of course, they demonized it in the media, but the 10,000 plus people who stood right here in this plaza where you stand had something else to say. Over 2,000 ICE agents were sent to Minneapolis, not to protect the people, not to help people out, but to be the kidnappers and the killers, the personal army of Donald Trump. 32 people have been killed in 2025 in ICE detention, and that's probably an undercount. With the murder of Renee and Nicole Good today, we see that their reign of terror is continuing.
Blessings, Michelle.
A racist system that is addicted to war. A system with
Continuing coverage of the LA protest of the murder of Nicole Good in Minneapolis.
have not got their compensation or justice. A system where immigrants put in work day in and day out. And what are they getting in return? Terror and demonization and lies in the media. A system where staff and healthcare subsidies are being cut every single year while the military budget passes $1 trillion. And the call to feed a system that is addicted to devastation, destruction, and war. A system that is hungry for blood, and we saw the deadly consequences of that today. These monsters think that they can commit murder. They think that they can then deceive us and tell us not to believe our eyes, not to believe our ears, but to believe them. Donald Trump himself tweeted. He put out that this was just self-defense. No! He called this cold-blooded murder self-defense. But we heard that before. We heard it after the murder of Latasha Harless in South Central in 1991. They said it was self-defense. When Trayvon Martin was killed back in 2012, they called it self-defense. When they killed Andre Salgado in Compton in 2020, they called it self-defense. That was LAPD, the LA sheriff, right there, right? Christy Noem said this was an act of domestic terrorism. Christy Noem called it an act of domestic terrorism, not the murder of the innocent woman.
Please restack this and share it. This will also show up on YouTube.
Bunch of BS stuff. And in fact, if they want to talk about that, I was in the streets in 2020. In the rebellion against racism, where over 30 million people across the country stood up against the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Andre Guardado, and so many others. And I remember seeing LAPD drive into a crowd of protesters. No shame, no care for who they were going to hurt. I call that an act of terrorism. LAPD shot rubber-coated bullets at the heads, at the hands, and at the bodies of protesters just last year here in Los Angeles. I call that domestic terrorism. In October, there's a story that federal agents in Chicago shot a teaching assistant named Miramar Martinez 5 times. A teaching assistant named Miramar Martinez 5 times in Chicago. I call that domestic terrorism. Bombing 8 countries mercilessly in 1 year, Donald Trump has done. I call that an act of international terrorism. And Donald Trump is a war criminal who has no right to call anything domestic terrorism. ISIS shot 14 people, as far as we know, in just the past year. What did that say?
So when people who follow the way of Yahusha and believe in the scriptures believe what this man is saying, they're called liberal. They're labeled like Nazis label, you know?
I call that all.
You don't have to be a liberal to acknowledge what's wrong with ICE. You really don't. You really ought to just use your eyes and ears and look into your soul and spirit.
Porter was killed right in Northridge. Shame! It's the system beyond shame. Unfortunately, it's a system with no shame. And I think it's all evident when, in the video of the murder of Renee Nicole Good, you hear the person film and scream out, "Don't you have a conscience? Don't you have a conscience?" And what do you hear? Silence. You hear nothing. That's because it is a system without a conscience. And a system without a conscience needs to be replaced. It's clear that Renee Nicole Good should be alive right now. This was a cold-blooded murder. And even if there's one monster who pulls the trigger, there's a whole system of killing people right behind him. That's why in Long Beach, in Los Angeles.
What? Okay, fine. 4 wins.
Flags. Standing up. That's why in New York City they immediately stood up. That's why in Minneapolis they stood up. It's because everyone is recognizing, everyone is waking up to the fact that we need a new system and that this cannot continue. I joined the Answer Coalition because I was sick and devastated of seeing crime after crime after crime being committed by myself, by a government that speaks to my name. But this is the government that has never represented us. Isn't that right? Great.
I'm going to tell you, that airplane is spraying stuff out. There's stuff coming out of that airplane, or that craft, or whatever that thing is. I see spewing over there.
The fact that our brothers and sisters in Gaza, in Caracas, and all around the world are being bombed by the same country, by the United States. Hey, my brother. Endless year has coated all of my years. Endless war has coated all of my years, folks. Ever since I was born, whether it was the sham wars for oil in the Middle East, the war on Black America, the war on immigrants, the war on Palestine. Eventually, I found out that enough is enough. And that's what brought me to this organization, so that each and every one of you, whether this is your first protest or your 100th protest, I want you to make a commitment tonight to stay in this struggle, to stay in the struggle for the long haul. Because, folks, we have a lot to accomplish. But don't you believe we can win that new system based on justice?
There's your satanic dragon flag, beast, reptilian serpent flag. That's right, I said it. Even look at the building that it's perched upon. Look at that American flag. It's stripes are the serpent, the stars are the fallen angels. Red is blood and fire. Blue is naval conquest. You can watch other videos I've done on that.
It's exactly what brought all of you here tonight. It's the fact that we know what's right and what's wrong. We have seen injustice in front of our own eyes, and we have to do something to stop it. So, folks, what I want to say is that all of us here are here because we see a piece of Renee in ourselves. We see someone who tried to stand up and who accomplished that goal, who stood up. And her name will never be forgotten. Say her name. Say her name.
This is live coverage in Los Angeles.
In the spirit of Renee Nicole Good, in the spirit of Jaime Alaniz, who was killed last year in an ice raid, in the spirit of Keith Porter, who killed just last week, and all of those who died at the hands of ICE terror, police terror, and endless war. We demand murder charges for Renee's killer. We demand an end to ICE terror and nationalization. And we demand full rights for our immigrants. We're gonna win it. gonna stay in the streets. Mi nuevo buen because el pueblo unido jamás le ha vencido. 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 The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
All right. That's continuing coverage of the Los Angeles protest of the ICE murder in Minneapolis today of Nicole Good. No one should ever have to die that way. That's why Yahusha will return. That's why you should be getting ready for Yahusha. This is a struggle I will not stay in tonight because I'm struggling. My right hip is struggling, and I'll be sleeping on these very streets tonight somewhere around downtown LA because I ain't got nowhere to go. Nobody's brought me in. I'm sitting here like the two messengers that Lot came to get in the town square, and you have a town square here, and need to read the book of Jasher about more about what happened there. You can hear that from here. We're sleeping out in the square. We're Sodom. We need to get out. We need a deliverer. And Yahusha is our deliverer. And I need you to pray. I'm making an appeal for healing for my body so we can hike if we have to or survive if we have to. Anybody watches me knows I'll continue to talk about martial law, mark of the beast, financial collapse, ICE, and the collusion of all the governments of the world to institute a one world government called the New World Order. And there's always a New World Order, but this last one will require everybody to take the mark of the beast in order to buy and sell. So our struggle is to enter the kingdom of Yahusha. These rallies will one day turn into violence. I have to tell you, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know who that was, if that was a counter protest or what that was. But we must ready ourselves. We must be ready to flee. Revelation 12. Get ready to flee these cities and do not be in them. I am stuck here out of affliction. I cannot right now control my departure. We are waiting for some go ahead by Yehovah about connections of what we are to do. I feel antsy about being out right now, but we need help. We need Greyhound tickets to get to the desert. We need maybe some paid time at a campground we can do. Paid campground we could rent, or help us find a free campground we could be at. We need grocery cards, metro passes, maybe for another week. Both of us are going to run out of our Straight Talk $55 gold card plan. I'm going to run out next week by Tuesday. Daweed will run out this weekend. $55 after tax will come out to be about $60, $61 for each one of us. If there's any of these you can do, I'm going to put my contact information. I am very injured. I'm still suffering. You've seen a lot of my videos about trying to recover from napalm burns, Agent Orange poisoning in Vietnam as a child. War, fighting war for the United States is worthless. If your sons and your daughters went out and you didn't warn them not to, and they take the mark of the beast, there will be blood on your hands. I'm not trying to insult mothers. I think I would have done the same thing as a father, that a lot of mothers and fathers have made mistakes. I never had to deal with that because I was fighting for my life since the very birth. Because the seed of the dragon is after the seed of the woman, the seed of Christ, which is spiritual, not physical. Isaac Joseph, Benjamin Bedouin. My voice is running raw. I guess I've shown you enough from downtown LA. Protest device murder in Minneapolis. Pray for the people who are suffering, and they have got to come to our Messiah before it's too late. So signing out. I can't do anymore. Signing out.